Sessions Live, formerly known as Unfunk Your Marketing Live. I'm Ob, your chief cultivator here at Dandelion Branding. Is there a new name? Yes, because look, I don't want you to just unfunk your marketing. I want you to be unhushable. Unhushable. Because at Dandelion, we're making sustainability part of mainstream conversations every day. And every week here on YouTube between these unhushable sessions and the Environmental with Dandelion podcast. So if you're sustainability focused, especially if you're the eco curious baddie sounding the alarm in your friend group, I recommend tapping that subscribe button because that's all you're going to get here. That's all you're gonna get here. We're of the same mind. I've got an oolong tea today because oh gosh, does every day feel long in the sustainability sector right now? And of course, I have the tea for you because now it really starting to feel like 2026, which means it is high time to kick it into gear and talk about sustainability for eco-curious brands. Okay, we're going to talk about what a sustainable brand actually looks like in 2026. And I do not mean visually, just visually. So stick around because that's not enough anymore. It is where we're going to start after I explain a little bit about my unhushable theory, because I really think the background is important this time. Let's start here. People trust brands because shared brands make them feel part of an inner circle. It's kind of a way we connect with other people. And we saw this big in COVID, right? Like, do we wear a mask? What are my favorite brands doing? What are they saying on social media? Are we staying away from each other? Are my favorite brands like pissed because they have to be closed? Or are they like finding creative ways to serve the public? Like, that's a really good example. It happened a lot. But here's an ugly truth: sustainable brands, it's easier for them to lose trust. I've talked about this a lot in the past. You're going to keep hearing me talk about it because it's really important. If you are talking about being a sustainable brand, being focused in this world, and you make a single mistake and you don't own up to it or get ahead of it, your eco curious audience is going to question every other part of your business. My recommendation there: ugly honesty, radical transparency, not like in the overwhelming, overly verbose kind of way, but just in that truthful admit when you can do a better job. Why? Because the sustainable impulse buyer is real. These people are your inner circle. They love your ugly honesty and they love when you show up because that's when they show up. Mm, I got blurry, sorry. What is a sustainable buyer? You're asking me. What is a sustainable impulse buyer? I hear you asking. I hear you asking. A sustainable impulse buyers, they're impulse buyers that exist at a different stage of a customer journey. An impulse buyer, regular, they just like they see something they want and then they just like grab it. Sorry for scaring you. Ooh. A sustainable impulse buyer, they know you. They like you, they trust what you say and they agree with you because of your values. So when you put something in front of them at the right time, they impulse buy guilt-free. This is exactly the same mechanism. You just have to make sure that you're sending the right signals to this group of people first. And that's kind of what we're here for, just kind of in general. Like, yeah. So we're going to start with sustainability in visual branding in 2026. Because in 2026, we're not just green and brown anymore. No. I'm not here to drag you down. If you are, Dandelion does a lot with brown. You know, I love this color. If you're wrapping in craft paper and it's been your brand for years, don't change it up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm a big like hemp bows and craft paper fan myself, okay? And yes, for a lot of physical products, especially on the shelves, people are still grabbing cardboard packaging and assuming the sustainability runs through a brand. This is a this is a regular signaling. It's so easy to greenwash though. Um, yeah, just look at the grocery store aisles. Green and brown signaling is so frustrating. If you're looking for a new product and a new brand that you trust because it looks sustainable, then you like flip it over and you look at the problem and you look at the ingredients and you're like, oh my God, that's greenwashing. That's a problem. So, what should visual branding prioritize in 2026? Well, people are looking at badges. 1% for the planet is obviously my fave, B Corp, organic, etc. And I hear you. But the badges are expensive and they come with their own issue. Yeah, I know they come with their own issues. I know, but they're still worth it for that visual prowess right now. On the shelves, I am seeing a lot of recycled plastic and matte colors. Obviously, this is also easy to greenwash, but it is more expensive and it looks more luxury than cardboard. Now, packaging is a massive sustainability issue, so the less, the better. If you can design it smartly for less, do that and also talk about it. Excuse me. For consumables, sustainable brands are choosing bold ingredients over bold statements. No need to hide the ingredients that you're proud of. They should be the label. They are the label. And visually, the sky is the limit here because we're talking about stepping into the mainstream, radical transparency. So, sustainable advocate brands, they're fully expressing the vibe in 2026. They're wearing the brand, not letting the sustainable vibe wear them. Okay, moving on. Mm. What does a sustainable brand talk about in 2026? Girl, we're still talking about radical transparency. You want to plan for what's attention grabbing, what's shareable, what's going to get buyers in the door. And this is where the different ways you speak are going to be important. Your attention grabbers might be these stark statements, while your buyer content might be a call out of a problem that you're solving. In your shareable content, this is what's going to drive you this year and probably for a long time. It has to be about you, but it has to be applicable to your audience's friends. In the past, morals drove sustainable brands like everything. That's all they cared about. But that's changing now because because sustainable brands, they're not just showing up for their own causes, they're showing up period. They're talking about their values out loud, literally in the streets, and they're connecting things with real world events. Now, I know this is a shift, and let me tell you how I know that. One of my clients in the USA and a few other of the brands that I'm watching in the sustainability space posted about the horrors of ICE in the US and the unconstitutional violence happening in the street, and they lost followers. They lost followers from this, okay? Mm. And at first they're like, okay, I thought my audience would be all for condemning violence and murder by thugs in the street. They are. Your audience generally probably is, but they don't expect their favorite brands to be outspoken about it. Sustainable brands are out of their lanes this year, and that's not going to change because, honey, sustainability is an everyone, everywhere, all the time problem. Look, we're here. Unhushable means unhushable. Unhushable. All right? Okay. All right. Stay unhushable. Now, let's talk about creativity for a sustainable brand in 2026. Obviously, I said it's very in visually, but let's talk about how it's out vocally. All right. Sure. Yes. Brand your courses, name your products, cute stuff, a little learning curve there. It makes you pretty memorable, but keep the important stuff in the written, live written comments, content, partially because social media captions and their imagery, but mostly captions, can be used in search engines right now, but also because real information is important to the sustainability audience, and that's not changing. These founders are some of the most creative people you will ever meet, point blank, period. Moving forward, what you're going to see is that they know how to walk the line between being consistent, showing up for their mission, and then also being visually attention grabbing. And yeah, before you say that's like always important, this is really challenging and it's getting harder. And to that end, we're not sticking so intensely with brand colors and putting our logos on everything because in 2026, when your branding is strong, you only really need one or two elements to remind people of who you are and where they can find you. This makes content way more fun because it opens up the possibility of better content that's less pervasive and more creative overall. Even when the words are still the same and the mission is still the same, and you're looking into widening your branding circle, and we're pushing into personality because here's why. At the end of the year, probably before, we see it a lot now, human, not AI generated stuff, is going to be super in for sustainable brands. Now, I will sit here and admit it that I am not anti using AI because while it's not the best thing for the environment, it is a useful tool that helps level the playing fields for the smaller guys. But note that I said it's a tool because oh my God, is my inbox flooded with 2026 AI courses and offers. And the reality is, this isn't going away. It's not going away. Brands like Dandelion and our clients aren't going to be fully stepping into AI generative content based. We're based on principles, sustainability, and that unique, not perfect thing that comes from being radically human. And we're going to see more of a divide on that this year. Like, okay, there are like full ass AI influencers in the world. So, like, miss me with that culture, miss me with the slop, miss me with the waste and the data centers that are wreaking havoc around the world right now. And I don't mean on just water and energy consumption. I'm talking about habitats of endangered species and vulnerable communities of humans who are endangered because people want to make AI images. Literally, that's why. Anyway, in 2026, we are showing the mission, not just the badges. I know I said get the badges, but they're a ticket into the game. Your mission is the game itself. You need to show your impact by your actions. Like, show what you're doing as often as what you're selling. Evidence is the new marketing. Don't just tell me that you're doing sustainable shit. I don't care. Show me the labor. Show me the ugly parts of your supply chain and show me your transition in real time because we are more connected than ever, which also makes it really easy to get a 30-second video from your supply chain manager or to show the behind the scenes process of your designs and your packaging that makes it more sustainable. You can get so creative with how you show this transition. And you don't have to worry about the stale, just like, we do it differently words, because those just don't stand out anymore. Here's mm, one of my clients in the regenerative agriculture space literally she just sends us photos of what's happening on their farm. We use those real life farm images to explain and share how things are done differently in regenerative agriculture in general, which you can find anywhere, but it just doesn't work as well when you don't show those differences, right? That's what makes the big difference here. And finally, this might not be your favorite part, but sustainable brands are over sales. I'm sorry. If you're like, is it the years for sales this year? No, not yet. We're not there yet. Sustainability focused businesses are struggling because sales don't work. It's been going on for a while, but this basically means throwing out the playbook on all the typical holiday tactics. Not only not only do sales eat into smaller profit margins in this sector, but they're kind of an orangey beigey flag of like, can they afford it? And like, why can they afford it? Does that mean that they're lying? I don't know. So, what can you do instead of sales? You want to think creative launches or relaunches, the low hanging fruit, lead generation, content that answers people's questions before they're asking, or that like tickles that little sweet spot for those audiences. And by sweet spot, I mean something like I have a whole coffee table book of herbal poetry that I wrote for a client because their audience has a playful relationship with plants. We used it to grow their email list and then use their email list to sell long and short term classes. By the way, would you like that? Would you pay for an herbal poetry book? Let me know in the comments because maybe it's happening. Um, yeah. Say when you really want to run a sale, save that for your sustainable impulse buyers. These are the folks in your newsletters. So sustainable brands are only running sales in their newsletters this year. Like you can get away with I'm running sales but only in a newsletter. Grow your newsletter list, babe. Do it. All right. Okay. Let me back up on my little I use a teleprompter because I'm a human being. That's enough for me. That's what we got. I'm going to give you the quick and dirty TLDR on what a sustainable brand looks like in 2026 in 25 seconds right now. Radical transparency. Sustainable brands admit mistakes. They are showing their difference through real-time visuals, not just words. They're also shifting goals from impulse buyer to impulse sustainable buyer. They're looking past green and brown signaling because sustainable brands come in every color. The veil between us is ever thinning. So these brands are speaking up on real world events. And finally, human content is the newest, bestest trust signal right now. If you're sitting here going like, wow, whoa, that was super fast. I'm going to put a circle on the screen so you can tap the subscribe button right here and you can always ask me questions in the comments. And as a reminder, I'm fighting the green hush on YouTube every single week between environmental podcasts and these unhushable sessions. My next live will be in 2 weeks, where I'm going to talk about the bottlenecks I see in sustainable brands dealing with every day in their communications and how to fix them. So I'll also put that video on the screen here so you can sign up to be notified for when that one goes live. And I will see you next time. Bye.